So this is a video here to show how I make my mushroom and earring pendants. First, I start out with a long piece of clay that I am going to mold down to size and to about the width that I want the mushroom stem to be for the pendants. And here I'm just using another piece to measure to try to figure out how I want all the pendants to look. And now I'm making this piece a little bit skinnier for the earring stems because I don't want them as big as the mushroom pendant. And I keep them in pairs as well, so each earring is relatively the same. And now here I am smushing down the stalk of the mushroom just to kind of make it a little bit thicker. And here I am molding the head of the mushroom. And I add them here to just make it a little bit easier to add detail and sculpt together. It's a little hard to keep the camera focused. And so, normally you need to score when you add two pieces of clay together so there's no air bubbles, but with how wet this clay was, I didn't need to score. It molded together very nicely. And here I'm just wetting a brush to smooth out some of the surfaces. And now I'm adding the little ridge detail to the mushroom pendant itself. And I'm cutting off the edges that I kind of pulled off the mushroom when I made those ridges. A few more minor details. Already in here, I'm cleaning off the little bits that stayed after I added the details. And now I'm just smoothing out the ends and making sure the bottom is flat so it'll sit straight in the kiln. And I need to make sure that hole is clear as well so I can make it a pendant and add wire to it. And now here I am measuring the stems for the earrings next to the pendant to make sure they're relatively the same. And I'm making one singular ball that I'll cut in half for each top of the mushrooms for the earrings. And I don't want it to be too big, so I'm kind of taking a little bit of clay off to make it a little bit smaller than the pendant itself. Okay, and now that they're relatively the same, I think, close enough, you know? And I add this back onto the needle with the stalk to go ahead and measure it up. And I start bringing the clay back down to make it into a singular mushroom. And I repeat the process as the same with the pendant. And of course this one had a little bit more at the top that I had to straighten down. And just adding more details to make it look like a mushroom. And smoothing out all the little hard pieces and ridges that came with adding the details. And now, since I'm making the second earring, I'll use the first earring to compare it to make sure it's not too big. And this earring here was a little bit longer, so I am going to have to trim off some from the top. And since I got it to the desired size, I can now go through and add more detail. Alrighty, and just smoothing out those ridges as I've done before. And now that they're all relatively the same, you can see how much different the pendant is to the earrings, and that is the finished product. Now to dry and put in the kiln.